Okay, today we're going to be learning about line symmetry. And you can see that on the very top of the screen. It says line symmetry at the very top. I'll underline that for you so you can see it more clearly. Line symmetry. You can put that at the top of your notes so you know how to refer back to it when you study for your tests later on. Line symmetry. Now, what line symmetry is when you have a geometric shape. For example, when you have a quadrilateral, a shape that has 4 sides and 4 angles, there is a line of symmetry that can be found in this quadrilateral. Now, sometimes it's very difficult to find the line of symmetry, but other times it's fairly simple if you get used to finding the line of symmetry. The line of symmetry, what it does is it splits the object in half so that part of the object can overlap the other part, and there will be no overlap. So what I mean by that is if I have an object like this, and I draw a line exactly through the middle, then that means, if I get my pen, that this red part, this half, I can kind of move that and flip it over in this direction. I can flip it over so that it's on top of the green section. So if this was a physical object, if this was like a piece of paper or something, then that means that my object would look like this. It would only look like half the size because I have both the red and the green on one side, and there's no overlap. That means that if I overlap, that there's no extra part hanging out over the side. If it's a line of symmetry, then it goes right down the middle and it can split it in half, and you can fold that shape in half. Now, sometimes it's hard to see this when it's on a piece of paper and you can't physically hold it. So, here are some other examples of lines of symmetry. Here are some examples of lines of symmetry. You can see all of these different shapes, and some are not regular geometric shapes. Okay, you can see here that we have a square, what looks like a square. We don't know for sure. If it had these, then we would know for sure that it was a square, because that's a 90-degree angle, a right angle. Now, the line of symmetry for a square can be found right down the middle here. It could also be found right through the middle there. It could also be found through the diagonals. Those would be the lines of symmetry. A square has more than one line of symmetry. Think to yourself, how many lines of symmetry does a square have? Look at the picture right here. How many lines of symmetry does a square have? If you guessed the answer 4, then you are correct. The square has 4 lines of symmetry. If you can find any more, just let me know and I will correct that mistake. But I'm pretty sure there are only 4 lines of symmetry in a square. Because no matter how we flip the square over and put it and fold it in half at that line of symmetry, it's never going to overlap. Now, some other objects, for example, the pentagon. Who knows what a pentagon is? If you know what a pentagon is, count the number of sides. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. A pentagon has 5 sides and 5 angles. And they gave us a line of symmetry right here, right through this part right there. And that's our line of symmetry. This area can be turned over onto this area, and it will be exactly the same. Okay, now there's some other lines of symmetry found in the pentagon. For example, right here, or right here. if I draw a line from this point to this point, is that a line of symmetry? Think about that. Can I flip this area over onto this area? Will there be any overlap? Yes, there will be overlap because if I flip it over, then it only covers that area. Do you see that? It only covers that area. I have all this other area that gets left uncovered. So that means that that is not a line of symmetry. Another example can be seen in the circle. Circles have many lines of symmetry because you could go all the way around a circle and you could never stop. There's an infinite number of lines of symmetry in a circle. Circles are very symmetrical. Sometimes odd shapes, like this one over here, can be very difficult. It's not a regular geometric shape, and it has curved lines. So you might be confused. If you drew a line that looks like this, can this part overlap onto this part? No, it cannot. But if you drew a line of symmetry through here, then yes, it would be able to do that. Okay? Now, how many of you have ever made a heart for Valentine's Day out of paper? That is using a line of symmetry. What you do is you take a piece of paper, you fold it in half at its line of symmetry, and then what happens is you can cut that piece of paper, so it's half of a heart, and what happens when you unfold that piece of paper, and this is your line of symmetry, what happens is you have an exact replica of the heart on each side. Okay? This side is equal to this side. This is your line of symmetry. Okay, if you have any questions about lines of symmetry and how to find them, please let me know. Write questions in your notebook or Edmodo me on my math webpage. Okay, on the Edmodo Math with Mr. K webpage. Okay, now you can go ahead and start your quiz.